Well, Eric Stafne is a pecan specialist for Oklahoma State University. He joins us here in our Career Tech studios. Well, first of all, give us just some idea how important Oklahoma's pecan crop is.
Oklahoma's pecan crop is extremely important from year to year. It's really a part of the Oklahoma's social fabric. Yeah, everybody's making pecan pies. There's a lot of different people who are dependent upon it for their livelihood. So even though from year to year we have a large variation in the yield and the value of the crop, it's something that people depend on quite a bit.
Now, I've been told that pecan trees, typically they may do really well one year and then the following year not so well.
Right. That's typically called alternate bearing. There are other names for that. But essentially the tree itself uses up a lot of energy in producing that crop, and it needs to recover for a year or maybe 2 years period before it can put on another significant crop.
Now, as we just saw, you know, a good crop down south, not so good up in the Northeast where they had the freeze. When you have a freeze like that, can that do permanent damage to a tree?
In some areas it can do permanent damage, especially, you know, we still don't know the full effects. There are certain areas in Oklahoma, maybe around Grove and Delaware County, that area, it got down to 17 degrees. So in that situation you can have wood damage to the tree. And that's a permanent type of situation. I don't expect in most of the state that we'll see anything like that, but it can have damage for this year on certain parts of the tree, but it should recover.
Now, Mike mentioned a couple of different varieties of pecans. Tell us a little bit about, I'm assuming there's several varieties here in the state.
There's many different varieties in the state, there's a lot, but we kind of try and steer people toward what to grow, and depending on their area of the state. So some do better in the northern part where it's a little bit colder, and some do better in the southern part and the western part. We have different disease pressures, and some are susceptible more than others. So a lot of the ones that we're recommending now are like Kansas and Pawnee, and Merrimack is one that's from Oklahoma that a lot of people still grow. There are many acres out there still of Stewart and Burkett and some of the other ones that aren't as good and haven't been replaced, but folks still want to grow those.
A lot of people I talk to say pecans are an easy crop to grow, but there is some financial and I guess some time investment here.
Sure. When you start growing pecans, if you're going to put in an orchard, it can take up to 6 to 10 years perhaps to start getting a crop. So that's a substantial amount of time and investment you're putting before you ever see any dollars back on that. The level of management also varies. If you're putting in larger pecans, something like a Merrimack or a Mahan, those would have significantly more needs, like water especially, so irrigation, disease sprays, zinc sprays, all kinds of things like that would be an important part of that. Now if you're growing natives or mostly natives, the disease pressure tends to be less, the nuts tend to be smaller, so you can get away with a little bit less management.
All right, Eric, we certainly appreciate you coming here.
Thank you.
And we continue our conversation with Dr. Staffne on our website. Just go to okhorizon.com and click on Value Added.